Hello, hello, hello. Can you all hear me? All right. Let me pull a couple things up here. We'll get started. Hello, Eric. All right, how is everybody doing? Just logged on. Lex, I see you're here. Feel free to join whenever you want. I've got a couple videos that I wanted to show first. Just two videos that I just really liked. Thought were just something we could kind of watch as people are scrolling through. I've had a lot of coffee, y'all. I probably should like eat a banana or something. All right. How does my sound sound? I tried to make some changes because I think I had kind of like an echoey sound for a while. Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
It is going. Let me turn my volume down because that is loud for me. Hold on. Let me turn my own volume down. All right. Thanks for tuning in late. I know it's what, like it's 8 o'clock for you, right?
Yeah, that's fine. I normally go live at 7:30, so it should be good for a couple of hours.
Cool. Yeah, I actually just put like from 2 to 4. I figured, just yeah, so I've got a couple things that we can get into, but I thought just as we're like hanging out, we could just chit chat. I found these two videos that I thought were good, so I thought maybe we could get your reaction to this one too. Let me pull up my. Do you have TikTok Studio?
Yeah, I do use that now on the PC.
It's slow. It can be slow so many times, and then I like double click on stuff and I can't get back into like my sources and everything. It's kind of annoying. And I haven't tried OBS or anything yet, but okay.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how to do the dual output so that it goes on Twitch as well.
You gotta get like Streamlabs or OBS, and I have OBS, but my laptop, I gotta get a new laptop. Mine's not really strong enough right now. It still lags a little bit, so.
Yeah, I've got both, but my issue is that it won't allow me to source the webcam on both. It only takes it from one. That's what I'm trying to figure out.
Yeah, and same. Okay. So I found this video which was kind of funny, but I also thought like when we talk about what "it's all men" means, right? And thanks for everybody tuning in. We're not jumping into anything yet. We're going to give everybody some time to get in before we really jump in, but I've got a couple of videos I wanted to show. So Lex is here with us. I'm sure most of y'all know Lex, and your pronouns are he, him, right?
They are indeed, yeah.
Okay, I'm just checking. He does, anti-patriarchy, battling the red pill, all of that on his platform. She's feeling better. She's eating ramen right now, and she had some ibuprofen because she was uncomfortable. So I will parent if it's needed, but she's been doing her own thing. So we'll see. She's just kind of tuckered out in her own room right now. It's like with kids. They. All right. So here's
I'm so sick of fed up of men using the argument, it's not all men. So I'm going to draw this out for you. Okay, so at the bottom, we have the worst of the worst. We have great.
All right, can everybody hear it? See it? Oh, you've seen this? Okay, great.
Rapists, pedophiles, murderers, you're in jail, you're horrors, and we can all unanimously agree as a society these are very, 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 very bad people. Okay, that's bottom of the bottom. And then we have a little scale. And then at the top here, we have men who speak up for women, men who advocate for women, men who protect women, and men who confront all of the other men That's where you're missing me. I'm not saying it's a 50-50 scale of good and bad. I'm saying that this is a slow blended gradient between good and bad. And no matter where you fall on here, if you're not here, I don't like you. I don't like you. So no, when I say I don't like men, that's because the majority of men do not fall here. If you as a man get your shit together and get here, you have my love, you have my support. But you don't, because you don't care, because all of the men that fall here do not affect you. And we're gonna talk about this. So, like I said, bottom of the barrel, we have our bottom 10%, you're in jail, you're a bad person. We can all unanimously agree that you're bad people. There's so many different pinpoints of the type of men that could fall on the bad side, and then the men that fall into excusing it. Almost all men excuse other men because you're obsessed with male validation. So, we have murderers, rapists, and then we have woman beaters, wife beaters, we have Chris Brown, all the men that still have very successful careers, you know, convicted but excused because he's grown, he's found God, whatever. Cancel him out. And then we have,
the found God thing is so real. What's the wrestlers or the MMA guy that y'all know who I'm talking about? And he said he went somewhere, found God, took some psychedelics, I don't know, had some sort of therapy, came back, said he found God. Now I guess we have to forgive him. Yeah, McGregor for being a rapist. That thing about finding God and being saved, that is so true. And then people just go, oh yeah, we forgive you.
No, she wasn't that drunk. I didn't know she was that drunk, and it's not that big of a deal. And I didn't know. You cancel them out. How was he supposed to know? Oh, he didn't mean to assault her. Okay. And then we have a little grope on the subway. We have, I'm going to touch your waist to get behind you at the club. I'm going to say, oh, you're ugly anyways. And I'm going to harass women. You excuse him. He probably has a mental disorder. Okay. He didn't know that you weren't into, okay. And then we have, what would even fall here? Cheaters, liars, manipulators, people who purposely harm women and then face no repercussions because they believe they're above women. Before you get mad, have none of your friends ever cheated on their girlfriends and you said nothing. You excuse them. And now we'll fall into here. You are a good guy. You treat your girlfriend great. You have female friendships. You have a good relationship with your mom. But you don't speak up because it doesn't concern you. I don't like you. And then we have, you don't really associate with those guys. You would cut your guy friends off, but you don't want to cause any drama, so you're going to continue being friends with men who maybe fall here or here, but not here, because, you don't want to cause any drama, you don't like the conflict, I don't like you. And then we have here. You would remove yourself from the situation, you're not a huge fan of it, it's just, you see a bad guy, you cut them off. Your friend cheats on a woman, you cut them off. Your friend beats a woman, you cut them off. You're fine. You're safe, you're a bitch, but you're safe. And then we have the top maybe 0.3% of men who genuinely fucking care about women and would cut their friends off for doing something like that. They do hold their friends accountable. They do speak up for women and protect women. So when I say I hate all men, you're not giving me much room. You're not giving me any room. You guys want to fucking get yourself up here and care about women? Sure, you have my support. You have my vote. You are the problem. You cannot be mad at women for seeing shit like it is when you are the problem. Thank you.
All right, so anyway, I just thought that was a good visual. I liked most of the examples she gave. I felt like that was pretty accurate. What are your thoughts, Lex?
No crumbs were left. Yeah, there was probably one thing that I think also could have been added into that, which is the area of, political stance as well. Because I remember that was something a long time ago. I had a close friend, and this was obviously way before I went on my journey, but I remember I had a close friend who was sort of saying, me and you, I respect you as an individual, but there's a point where because you don't think, you don't really care about politics, my respect only goes so far. And during that time for me, again, I was just operating in this I'm just not interested in what the politicians and everything say, because as far as I'm concerned, they're all liars anyway. So I never really cared too much about what they were actually advocating for and what changes they were looking to put in place until I started to realise now how important that was. So that was probably the only thing that I think also could have been added to that. But aside from that, it pretty much did cover everything.
I
really.
agree with that. I'm going to let Amaboud up today as well. So most of y'all know who Amaboud is. She is in Gaza, and she spends time in our lives to help get coins. I have some merch in my bio that her daughters drew a photo. She sent it to me, and we put that in some merch. So if you click the link in my bio, any of that merch that's sold, any profit from that's going to go straight to her. She's got a PayPal and a GoFundMe. Where I think there's a family in Italy or France, you can read it in her, that is managing that. And she's got 5 children. She's got twins. She's suffering with kidney disease. She's had family harmed. I've seen some images of what used to be her home. It's cold there. They're being price gouged. So anything that you can do, please send any coins to Amaboud. She's just going to kind of hang out, and then we're going to get started. So Lex, I thought I have some questions. I thought since you mentioned like your journey, and I thought that might be somewhere where we could start. So for those of y'all that don't know, I've invited Lex here. He was suggested to me, so I started watching some of his lives. I think mainly I have women or non-men people in my lives, but we do have a lot of men who want to come up and are coming from a good place, and they want to come up and then kind of speak on like the bad men that come up, and but I think men should be doing more than just spending time in women's lives. I think women's lives are where you can learn, but then you got to go somewhere else, and it's a hard line to balance. When are you ready to start doing your own lives and educating men? Am I educated enough myself? I, as a man, don't even know how that works too, right? Maybe this is a push-pull. Maybe you get direction from women who say, like, you're on the right track. So I thought we would just have some organic conversations, and then we've got some topics up here that Lex typically runs, so I thought we could invite up opposition. If that doesn't happen, then nothing lost, but good conversation. And then I thought maybe near the end we could even invite some friendlies up for some stuff. So I thought we would start with some questions for you, and then maybe walk through the topics and talk about why you talk about these topics, and then just see where it goes from there. Does that sound good?
Yeah, sounds perfect to me.
Okay. Okay. So I just wrote these questions down. So we'll just start. Okay. So, like, your journey, were you always like this? Did you grow up this way? Did you have to unlearn things? Like, when did this start for you?
I don't think that I was heavily, let's say, red-pilled in my way of thinking. But I definitely think that, in some of maybe the way that I spoke about and viewed women, it was quite objectifying. Like, I'm being brutally honest. I think that's probably where the level was for me. That was in terms of the way that maybe your friends would, say certain things. You talk about maybe, situations with your partners, and maybe reveal more information than you should have about your personal matters, let's say, with your partner. And so that was part of the culture of the way that we used to speak. Fast forward, I suppose, through, going through relationships and thinking that everything was just, the way it was without being challenged. It then came to a point where I was challenged on that from a very close friend.
That was my next question. That was my next question. Who challenged you? And who was that?
So it's a friend called Daisy, who a lot of people in my community know. She's still a great friend of mine. We've done a couple of business ventures together as well. She's very much been helping me set something up, which is also releasing very soon. So that's exciting. And, to this day, I'm forever grateful, because she gave me this analogy, which I've told a lot of people before, which really hit home. And what's amazing is that when I've done my lives now, there have been moments where other men have heard analogies or examples where for them you can sense the pennies dropped a little bit. You sort of go, oh wow, like it was a breaking moment. Mm-hmm. And I just know that's what it took for me to be able to then begin that journey, to then be open to a lot more information and education. I do think you have to be willing and wanting to learn. And I think with that comes the idea that you will be challenged on things in ways where it might not be met with necessarily kindness, but definitely in a way of, you feel a bit defensive when you hear it because you think, oh gosh, I'm taking it personally, without realizing that actually it's quite a reflection on a lot of men in society. Mm-hmm. So the analogy was, I used to have the belief that, what a woman wore on maybe a night out did have some input in regards to how men were drawn to them. So like, attention from men was, linked to the way that women dressed. That was something that I used to think held some truth to it. And I remember her using an analogy with me, which was, if someone was walking down the street and someone used, let's say, a sharp item on their neck to inflict harm, you wouldn't say to them, well, you should have been wearing a scarf. And as obvious and, strange how obvious that is, I couldn't help but think, oh my gosh, that's like ridiculously embarrassing for me that I thought clothing had some kind of an indication on certain things. And that was it. That was the moment where I was like, okay, what else do I think,
Okay, cool. So that's what opened it up and maybe like allowed your mind to start then questioning other things, the questioning phase.
Yeah, I'd say that, during that time I was, qualifying as a therapist as well. So I was always very open to listening and hearing other people's perspectives and their views of the world, which I think obviously, yes, that does help. It does benefit because some of the skills you learn there is to take a step back and, listen to people. But I was also very much a fan of 2.5 Men. That was also a program that I used to watch, dare I use the word religiously, but let's just say, continuously.
Okay.
And for me, looking back at the dynamics, you see so many stereotypes within that series, with the whole, the quote unquote better looking of the two, the more money, younger women, not necessarily wanting a relationship, but the way that he spoke to and the way that he would talk to convince them or to get them to maybe spend time with him in, certain ways, let's say, and him never really committing. And him constantly being called out as a misogynist by his brother, who obviously was not the quote unquote most attractive, from stereotypical. Like it was almost done intentionally for that reason. And yeah, just as Lizzie said in the chat, the way they treated Berta, the housemaid, I don't know if that was her word, there was just so much there. There was so much there, even to the point where he eventually, was trying to be in a relationship with, I don't know if her name was Charlie or something, I can't remember. So, for me, it was very much like all your friends watched it, you all liked it, you all enjoyed it. And the idea of having that kind of a lifestyle was almost something to want. So until you kind of, get challenged on all that and break out of it, you then start to learn all the other areas of TV and media and things around you that kind of push these agendas and, create that divide and how it's done through
is there feedback? Wait, no, okay.
I can hear myself a tiny bit in your background, but not a lot.
Okay. Yeah, that's same thing for me when I watch like romantic comedies, right? Oh, there is a little bit of feedback. Okay. Like in the movie The Notebook, where he, hangs from the ride, basically saying, like, I'm gonna drop myself if you don't go out on a date with me, right? Just and then thinking, oh, how romantic, right? And then in my eyes, I'm like, that's actually not romantic. That's psychotic. Okay, so let me just see. We've got a couple more questions. You kind of answered quite a bit of these. Let's jump into the topics then. So for everybody who is here now, we do want to have conversations. So if you are here and, okay, we do have some mind the guest requests. We'll bring them up. Yeah, we'll just kind of jump in, and I'm going to kind of let Lex lead the conversations like he does. And thank you. For my mods, I'm notorious for like not paying attention. So ping me, ding me, whatever, and we'll let people up. Mason, hi, how old are you?
I am 23.
Okay, great. Did you want to talk about one of the topics on the background?
Yeah, let me just look at these real fast.
Okay.
I didn't really get that chance to look at them.
Oh, okay, that's interesting. I'm actually gonna I'm gonna mute myself, and I'm going to Lex here is actually gonna be having the conversations about these topics. So
Okay.
yeah.
Hello, Lex.
Hey, how's it going?
Going pretty good. So let's talk about you need to fuck me. Fuck me, Lex. Fuck me. Fuck me, Lex. I want you to fuck me.
Cool. So, great story. That does happen. So I guess we'll just go back to talking. Do you get a lot of that, or is it just me?
Nah, it happens a lot, and we go back to the prompt of all men until no men, and how much they prove it, right? And this is part of the problem, is that even when you want to have authentic conversations with men to get them to understand where their misogyny comes from, as I said to you earlier, you have to be in the mindset to want to change and grow. Yeah. And unfortunately, there's a lot of young men out there. I say young men because like it can be both, but I think that the biggest impact could be on targeting young men of next generation who just don't care enough, unfortunately. Yeah. And that, plays into it continuously.
Yeah. Chrissy Wood, I see you in the guest request. I didn't put it up here. I should probably add that we do only want to invite men up today. But Chrissy, that doesn't mean you're not a man. So, but if you're friendly, please drop Chrissy Wood. All right, I'm going to hit accept. We'll just see what happens. We'll just see. I'm thinking it might have even been an accident, and now they're not loading. So the first topic, men can't police women. I shortened the wording just so I could make the topics bigger. So really what this topic is that men can't hold women accountable. And so Lex, do you want to talk about what that topic means and why you talk about it and what that means to you and how those conversations go?
Yeah, I think when we look at the dynamics of the patriarchy, we need to recognize that, men implementing the system that they uphold today is something that men need to be held accountable for, right? It's something that it's something that men specifically, I would say inherently absorb and then perpetuate. That is something that affects women, all women. And so knowing that it's worst, it can, unalives, rapes, SA, all of that is the ways that women are affected by it, not to mention the systemic things that they face as well. That is absolutely something women can hold men accountable for. The disproportionate violence, that's something that men also should be doing amongst men, is, holding themselves accountable. Collectively, though, men being the oppressors to the oppressed, I don't see how you can hold the oppressed accountable for something that has already been implemented and upheld by men continuously to date. And I don't see anything that women are doing collectively that men are not doing as well that women should be held accountable for. So when a lot of time men will talk about how women contribute to the patriarchy themselves, and I would say, well, that's the internalized misogyny. If there was no misogyny there to begin with, then women would not be internalizing that and maybe, upholding those same beliefs. So again, you go to the root cause of it, it's the misogyny that's there to begin with. So yeah, I think for me, it's not down to men to tell women how they should and shouldn't be responding or changing things, because you could probably always find the root coming back to men, let's say, starting it.
Yep. Okay. And I blocked Mason. So I had a couple questions, things that I hear like men say, so I thought I would kind of around this topic. When men say that they just want to hold women accountable, when you hear men, talking about women's expectations or the wrongs that have been done to them, where do you think that stems from? Do you think it stems from them actually feeling wronged? Do you think that they have, where does that stem from, do you think?
I think it stems from men always being centered and recognizing that when women are now talking about the things that have affected them and are affecting them to date, men look at that as a way of women wanting some kind of revenge or way of taking over. And I think that, because men have always been centered and still are very much so, they can't take a step back and decenter themselves to say, we need to be accountable for something without trying to say, you also need to be accountable for something at the same time. So it's recognizing that we can talk about a topic where you don't have to deflect and try and bring up a whole new talking point or something different, because men won't go and advocate for these things on their own lives. Men won't go and start their own lives and spaces and support groups saying, this is something that we think women are doing and needs to change. No, instead what they'll do is they'll only bring it up as a way to weaponize when they are being called out on something. And it's like, if you really cared about the things that bother you about women, you wouldn't just use them as a way to, tit for tat and combat against certain things that women are saying men need to change. Yep. Instead, what you would say is just, okay, yeah, this is actually a problem. This is the topic of conversation. I used to use the bottle theory, which was I'd have two bottles in front of me and I'd say, this is the bottle that we're talking about. This bottle is today's life. Your bottle might still be important to talk about. It's just not the center of the conversation today. So you need to put that bottle aside and focus on the one we're talking about. Mm-hmm. And a lot of men, again, don't like that because they almost think, well, I don't want to hear things that men need to change and do differently, not unless there's some accountability on the opposite side as well. And that's a problem, right? It's not about, if I've done something wrong, I need to find something you've done wrong as well, because then I feel comfortable about it. That's, again, a you issue.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. And I think that correlates a lot of times when you hear men say women nag in relationships, right? But what that is women saying, these are the things that I don't like. And often that's when men then will use that. Okay, well, I don't like this either. Okay, well, but you haven't shared that with me. Like, I'm sharing this with you. It's kind of like that weaponized, like waiting for the moment to then bring it up, which then questions, like, does it really bother you? And why aren't you talking about it?
Yeah, so this happened a lot in couples therapy as well, which was, to the people who've heard this, I apologise, but it's a really good example.
No, please.
When I used to work with we used to work with men and women, it would come in and you'd have to you'd see the man on his own, you'd see the woman on her own, and then you would see them together, right? And most of the time, the man would say something like, we're not having schmecks, and because we're not having schmecks, there's something wrong with our relationship. We haven't had schmecks for a while, she's not schmexually into me, she's not intimate anymore, and so there's clearly a problem. When I spoke to her, she would say, well, like you just said there, I've been telling him certain things that I'm not happy about for a long time now, certain things that I would like him to maybe change or do differently, and it hasn't. And so I'm fed up of the fact that I'm not being listened to, I'm not being acknowledged, I'm not being seen, I'm not being heard. And so what was really clear was there was a problem ages ago, but men seem to view a problem when the schmeck stops. Mm-hmm. And so while she's been communicating for a long time in a variety of ways, for some reason that hasn't hit home until schmecks has stopped, right? So it's like, that's when men seem to think, again, not all men, but, it was quite common to see that, the dynamic suddenly shifted when that was no longer present in the relationship, that kind of intimacy. Now, one of the theories which I think is quite interesting as well is is like TA theory, transactional analysis, which is again the way that you communicate with each other with the ego state. So you've got parent, adult, and child, right? And it's recognizing that a lot of the women that I spoke to would use language such as, it feels like I'm living with a child, because all of the things they're doing or not doing is like I'm, again, looking after, cleaning up after, picking up after, whatever it is. And so if you think about the psychoschmexual aspect of it, it's like, why would she want to be schmexual with someone she's perceiving to be her child? Mm-hmm. It doesn't make sense. So if she's viewing you in a child ego state, she's also putting herself at times in the parent ego state. And if you think about your relationship dynamic, it is not a parent to a child, it's an adult to an adult. And if you're both now shifting away from those ego states, then you're changing the dynamics of that relationship. And by doing that, you're now operating in different feelings towards that individual because you're perceiving them in a very different light. Yeah. And so that was part of trying to explain it. Part of explaining it to them is recognizing this is where the disconnect is. This is where the break of communication has come from. So it's very interesting how a lot of men didn't really understand that this had manifested for her for a long time ago and has been going on for such a long time that now there's a problem, but you're only realizing it now because there's no physical intimacy.
Yeah, that makes sense. I need to check just a message in Discord really quick. Yes, Dr. Dig, just Lex today. And then what we're hoping for is to have only men come up today and have some conversations with Lex. We had one man, but he just wanted to have sex with Lex, I guess. That's what he came up here to say. So he left. How about talking about the difference between accountability and control? I think that sometimes is a blurred line when men feel like they think that they are trying to hold a woman accountable, but it really kind of goes back to maybe controlling the power dynamic or like how this conflict is going to go. Does that make sense, or do you agree, disagree?
Yeah, I think a lot of men use a lot of words to describe certain dynamics in relationships, which assert some sort of power or control. And they use these words to their advantage to make out that actually it's a legitimate reason. And some of these words actually, I would say, are more things like preferences and values and standards. So when men say things like, this is my standard, they try and use that to be almost like an expectation. And as if that expectation is not now being met, then this relationship can no longer continue or shouldn't exist in the first place. But a lot of them are also, again, based on objectifying reasons or, as I said earlier, like power dynamics. So one of the things that a lot of men do early on is they'll almost, assert this idea of schmex is a necessity in a relationship for me, it's a need. Mm-hmm. And I don't believe that schmex is a necessity. I think that it's a want. And I don't think it's unfair to want it. I think it's okay if you want to have that in your relationship. But I think a lot of men actually premise it differently and almost make it seem like a necessity. And so by having that kind of a standard, I think the wrong word is being used there. So the standard is now it's an expectation that this is what we will do, rather than more like, this is a relationship rather than a transactional kind of partnership where it's communicated with one another. So yeah, I agree. The aspect of accountability as well. It's like, I think a lot of men think that accountability is something you can just kind of say, yeah, I shouldn't have done that and it's done, rather than recognizing actually your behaviors will demonstrate whether or not you have held yourself accountable for it. So recognizing it is the first thing, but then do you change and do you adapt to that moving forward? How do you show that? Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of the time these words do get thrown around without really understanding the true meaning and depth behind them all. Similar to when we have, the body count prompt, where men will always, or should I say very often say, it's a preference. And they just don't go deeper than that. How did it become a preference? What's the reasons for it? And when you get to the roots, you realize, as it says on the prompt, in my opinion, it's one of the two. Mm-hmm. So again, it's like they think women should be held accountable for having schmex with X amount of men because they think it devalues them. So their view of a woman being held accountable for something is that it's through, again, the objectification or dehumanizing or degrading of a woman and her body. So it's just done in a very disingenuous way. But again, like you said earlier, the aspect of a power dynamic being applied, like if men say this, women should understand and adhere to it.
Yeah, cool. Okay, so the next topic. Does feminism hurt men? Or how does it hurt men? Which would be an invitation for men who thinks that it does hurt them to come up and talk about it. So obviously, I think Lex and I both would say that patriarchy harms men, and feminism would free men, in my opinion, all people. So what? I don't just talk about this topic, or what do you come into contact most when men seem to think that feminism has gone too far or is hurting them, or now they are, and obviously I know all these topics are going to go back to the same thing, which is that power dynamic and men sort of being afraid to up their own standards, falling behind, keeping the bar low, etc., or at least in my opinion. But what do you come in contact with most in those types of conversations? And yeah, just feel free to speak on that however you'd like.
Sure. So it's the very quick, I say, exaggeration to assuming that every woman who talks about certain beliefs of feminism is then a representation of what feminism is. So they'll say, you know, there's radical feminists. They'll say that there's women out there who are telling all men that they should be unalive, blah, blah, blah. Like, they'll talk about these women who claim to be feminists, but then when you listen to them, they'll say things that don't align with the feminist movement. And so what that ends up doing is then, you know, painting this picture that feminism does harm men. And it's only because men are assuming that these, you know, people out there who are claiming to be feminists are actually then, you know, going along with what it actually means and the point of it, right? And I think it's a real shame that men can't quite see that when they talk about how the patriarchy hurts them, again, they like to center themselves. When they talk about that, feminists will say, yeah, we know that's exactly the same system we're trying to dismantle and change because we recognize it affects everyone. However, right now, it obviously affects us far more. But obviously, to be able to change the system, we need men to realize that as well. We need men to see that actually this affects you. And it's this idea of like man hating. You know, they think that that's what it is. And I think that, you know, when men don't do the research themselves, they will more often hear something from another video, hear something from another, person, and just take that as verbatim as to what it is. I remember watching a Red Pill podcast, F&F, and the title on it was Feminist Gets Destroyed, right? And when you listen to her talking, nothing she said was a representation of feminism. Mm-hmm. But yet the title of it said that. And that's what a lot of men in the comments then picked up on, saying, oh my gosh, is this what feminism is meant to be? It's ridiculous. And that's the whole, you know, propaganda aspect as well. And the way that it's so easy to bait people by using words to get more views or whatever it might be. Red Pill take advantage of that. They take advantage of trying to show men that this is, you know, what feminism is trying to do. And that's not what feminism is. And so because the Red Pill has such a loud, you know, presence online, it's easier to share all that information. It's easy for men to watch that and uphold those beliefs of one another, because there are men out there that may have had an experience with a woman that didn't go well for them. And then they use that to sort of say, oh, we found common ground here with each other. Like we found common ground with, you know, us both being hurt maybe by a woman in our past. And then it will be somehow linked to how this is what feminism has done. Mm-hmm. You know, and unfortunately, that's where it then gets the bad label when it's not a representation of it at all.
Yeah, and we can come back to that too. Because I have more questions about that. Mark, how old are you?
18.
18, awesome. We're gonna go on the honor system here, and yes, thank you to the mods. I'm trying to not multitask. I can't do it well. I'm in active listening mode because it is hard for me. So this is very, like, I love this. So thank you to my mods who are paying attention to the chat, because when I try to do too much, I fuck shit up. So, and that's just the truth. So thank you. Mark, did you want to talk about one of the topics specifically on the background?
Yeah, I wasn't really coming up here to debate. I just wanted to discuss the last one.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah. I'm actually gonna go on mute. Lex here is actually I'm kind of just hosting the live, and Lex is having the conversations. Right. So I'm gonna mute and actually just go use the restroom really quick. Lex, are you good?
Okay.
Yeah, we're good.
Okay.
We're good.
All right.
Hey, Mark, what would you like to say?
No, I just wanted like to get some background on the last one. Because I was just wondering, where the idea that it would be misogyny and insecurities come from. Because I think it's something that affects relationships both ways. You know what I mean?
Sure. So the reasons that men would maybe give as to why body count is an issue for them, in my opinion, would fall under one of those two. And it's because men will use maybe derogative or degrading or objectifying language to describe a woman who has a quote unquote high body count. And so that would be where the misogyny is. Whereas some men might say things like, well, I don't think she's going to be trustworthy, or she might compare me to some of the other guys that she's been with before. And then that would be the insecurity. So it's the reasons that men give. And a lot of men will use words like preference. A lot of men will use words like standards and value without realizing that, again, they have been rooted in a reason as well. Like, you don't just have a standard, you have a standard for a reason. And if you dig deeper, you'll find that, again, it's rooted in one of those two, in my opinion.
All right, I understand that. And just a question, not in like a debate way, but do you think if a woman were to say, because I live in like a rural community in England, and there's lots of Catholics here, and like a big thing here is would you say it could be seen as like misandry and maybe insecurities as well for a woman to say that a body count will affect the way she views men, or how they might, maybe on like a social level but also on a personal level, if they say they don't want to be associated with or date men with a high body count? Do you think that's the same, or do you think it's different?
So I wouldn't say that's misandry. I would say that's internalized misogyny. And the reason why I say that is because the aspect of body count has always been a misogynistic view due to purity culture. So if we were to go back and recognize that women used to be unalived for not finding a husband. So the onus was always on women to find a husband through necessity and to start a family, and also for, survivability at times. One of the ways to ensure that a woman had a best chance of finding a husband was through body count, in the sense of being as close to a virgin as possible. And so, fathers protecting, but, the virtue of their daughters. It was also a sense of ownership, the idea of transferring property of, I've looked after and raised my daughter, and I now, give her to you, hence in marriage, you give her away. Give you away now to, this man who will take over to take care of you. Again, power dynamic. But men were the ones who had the freedom of that choice, not women. So it was always a misogynistic route, because the expectancy was on women to ensure their body count was low, not men. So women now internalizing this belief that body count means you are maybe less valuable, or, that it affects you. That's the internalizing of the misogyny. So it wouldn't be misandry, no.
Okay, fair enough. I get where you're coming from, and I do agree with you on that point. I just want to look at, do you think, I guess it's more like, I guess you could view it as both like prejudice in a way, but do you think it's been discussed maybe about like conservatives in media, and it's true, but there is a correlation between like having a high body count and divorce risk, where like as you get closer to 10 or more body count, like or partners in a way, it has the highest divorce risk, whilst if it's, I think it's like 2 to 3 has like the least divorce rate. Would you see that as more like a correlation versus causation thing, or is that more?
So
can that be explained by?
There's no causation link. And secondly, I believe that study that you're talking about, it actually dips when the numbers are 5 or 6. So like it starts to increase with 2 or 3, but then at 5 to 6 it dips, which would then suggest that if it was going to be a causation, if there was going to be a correlation, it would just continuously go up, right? So the second aspect of this is this. Let's say that you've met a woman and you know her body count, and you've been dating her X amount of years and decide to get married, right? Then for whatever reason, you decide to divorce. The reason you're divorcing is not because of her body count. The reason you might be divorcing is because maybe you've fallen out of love, maybe someone's cheated, maybe you just want to go your separate ways, whatever it is that you might, lots of reasons, but you don't really get married to someone knowing that information and then divorcing them for the same thing. So it's like, your body count's 20, let's get married. Oh, I'm going to divorce you because your body count's 20. That doesn't really make sense.
Yeah, of course.
So the causation is not body count itself. And again, the correlation doesn't really match because it dips down halfway through the, 2 or 3 to 10 that you spoke about.
Do you think though that, I agree with you. I think causation could be blamed, but you think there's certain effects that arise from having, for both men and women, having a high body count? Like, for example, obviously, I don't know if I agree with these 100% going through them, but having like this idea of like an experience effect, where a partner might have like a partner with a higher body count might have like other fish in the sea mentality, because in the past they've been used to sleeping with multiple partners, and having experiences with multiple partners means that when a problem arises, they are less likely to stay committed to that long-term relationship because of the experience derived from having lots of partners. Maybe whether that be in the past where they've, obviously this is kind of like a more personal thing, but like, for example, adultery, or maybe if you look at, I guess in today's culture with like situationships, right? It's become like a bit normalized to like bounce around. Like, I'm not going to shame anyone for it, but it has, like, having multiple partners, that kind of thing, creates this idea of maybe like I'll say again, like other fish in the sea mentality. So when a problem arises in a marriage, a person with a higher body count may experience something which means that they're less likely to find a solution with their partner, and instead seek out an alternative partner, or an alternative experience to put it aside, meaning a divorce, essentially.
So the issue with that is, again, you'd have to prove that the reason why they have decided to do those things you chose for them is because of body count. So a more easy way to explain something like that would be attachment styles. If someone is slightly more anxious avoidant, if someone is slightly more disorganized, like that would, that would show elements of the way that you communicate through relationship difficulties. Some people push people away, and some people sort of say, do you know what, like, this is getting too much for me and I need space, or whatever it is. And then they decide to, confide in someone else, like you suggested. But you'd have to prove that it's body count that's the reason why they've decided to do that. We also have to acknowledge that there's a 70% schmorgasm gap for women, right? So women choosing to potentially go off elsewhere to be with someone else, the chances are they're probably not going to get satisfied schmexually anyway, based on the statistics and the numbers. So you'd have to be asking yourself, what would be the reason why she would potentially decide to go elsewhere if that was the decision she made? Like, was it because she wasn't getting something in the relationship that she's been asking for? Now, I'm not making excuses for why women may or may not, cheat. I'm just going by your example of what you're saying.
Of course.
I'm just saying that body count would not necessarily be the reason. So if you were saying that I'm not ready for a relationship, and you decide that you want to, freely express your body, get to learn it, learn more about it, and see what you enjoy and what you don't enjoy. And obviously, you're not going to be in the right frame of mind or having the right mindset to commit to someone, right? And that's absolutely fine if you're being safe and consensual. So again, choosing to do that to know what you like is perfectly fine. And I would actually say that, if anything, women are probably more likely to communicate that with someone that they decide to settle down with, because they know what they enjoy. And they're going to be more likely to say, hey, I know how to communicate when it comes to, our intimacy, because I know what I like. And because I've decided that I want to settle down with you in a relationship, that means that's going to be more meaningful for me, because we'll know exactly what to do because I'm going to tell you, but also we've got something we've connected on here. So I wouldn't say body count is, again, the reason why these things break down.
And for the most part, I agree with you on that. And I think you're right. I think also, I think it could be put to, to an extent, like a divorce rate that I was discussing earlier. You could put it to the extent of, you could put it to the extent of men's behavior after having multiple partners, because I think the one that I was looking at was both genders, really. But
Ask you a question, right? Give me a reason why you think a woman would want to divorce, just in general. Like, you could say that for men as well, but if you're saying women initiate 70 divorces, what reasons?
No, I didn't say that.
No, I'm saying. Oh, sorry, you didn't. Sorry, the chat did. But like, in general, there are statistics that suggest that women initiate 70% of divorces, right? So I'm saying, if we're going to go with that narrative, what would some of those reasons be?
I think a big one, I feel like, for women could be, I say, not in any particular order, but maybe fertility. If a man isn't able to produce children for a woman, I think it's fair that it's obviously it's the woman's choice. That could be a reason why. I think another reason why could be adultery from the husband. I think there's loads of things really. I think one that you discussed was the idea of like other sexual partners. So I shouldn't say that. I don't want to get you striked, but
I will say though, just to like respond to what you said earlier, roughly 7% of men are like affected by infertility.
yeah.
So it's not a very high amount.
Yeah.
Thinking like 70% of women initiating divorces. Like I wouldn't say the dominant reason or factor is because of infertility. I'm not saying that it's not at all, but I'm saying, what do you think the most common things are? Like if you were to give the most
most common reasons for divorce, I'd say like probably adultery is going to be one of the big ones. I think. Just give me a second.
Giving it a Google.
I'm just thinking. I might give it a Google.
Take just a second. I'm gonna do just a quick little announcement for everybody who's passing through. I let Timo up. Timo is another refugee who panels with some friends, and so same respect and what we can do for Timo is greatly appreciated. From the comfort of our home, giving coins to people who have nothing is something that, in the very least, we can do collectively. And I thank you very much for that. You can also click the link in my bio and do all the things there. Make sure you're following Lex as well. Lex is also giving up some more later evening hours for him, so say thank you with some coins if you can. I'm loving this conversation, so we're just going to kind of keep going. I think that's it. I do have some merch in my bio for Amabood here. Her daughters drew a picture, she sent it to me, and I put it on some merch, and anything we sell will go straight to her and her family. Her and I worked on that together, so that would be greatly appreciated as well. All right, go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, so I'll just say like the big ones that coming off the top of my head. I won't give it a Google just because my laptop's not much, but I'll say just like probably adultery, a lack of commitment, and probably abuse would be the big ones.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think also like just general happiness. I think a lot of women feel like it's they've reached their sort of tether where they think actually I deserve better than this and I want more effort, whatever it might be, and however that's kind of shown is also a reason. So again, if we're looking at these kind of examples, I don't think that they have a huge link. It's like that it's not to do with body count. It's not something where body count is the reason that these women are choosing to divorce or for relationship breakdowns. I'm a firm believer that if I had to pick an average, I would say that men are more often the reasons why relationships break down. It's not to say that we aren't ever, but I think more often than not men are, and I think that's something that men also should reflect on in the ways that they turn up in relationships.
Lex, can I ask a question and just do you think that that when women are initiating these divorces, it kind of goes back to some of the things we were talking about earlier about a problem that has existed and they've tried to kind of address for long periods of times, and then that dynamic between like me and my husband has now shifted from adult to adult, but this like burden sort of like parent to child. Do you think that is correlated with that at all?
Yeah, I honestly think it's so common, and I think that if we were all at any point going to reflect on the way that we interact with people in our lives and recognize that we should be operating from a adult ego state, how often do we find ourselves changing into child versus parent? We see some men that come up on the live, and when they are like, for example, the first guest that came up, right, straight into child ego state. That's literally, the response, the emotional response that was given straight into the child ego state. And what often happens is when people operate in the child ego state, they're trying to drag you down into it as well. So sort of typical behaviors from the child ego state is that, cliche throwing your toys out the pram. The swearing comes out, the ad hominems come out. the rudeness, the bitterness, and all that stuff. And that when that kind of comes out, it's like I'm trying to generate a reaction from you. When you operate from an adult ego state, you're basically saying, I'm not willing to go down into that. Like that's not where I'm operating from. I'm an adult and I'm going to talk to you like one because I am one. And you are also one, but you're just not behaving in that way right now. So when that again happens in relationships, we talk about arguments. How many times do, arguments come up? And, oftentimes you shift between parent and child, depending on what it is that you're arguing about and how you perceive the other person in that moment. And so when we end up having those situations, we have to ask, that break in communication has now affected the way that we are seeing each other, viewing each other in this relationship. How do we come back from that? Not to say that it's like detrimental, but like what you were saying earlier there, Ash, in regards to how often is this occurring? And that's why the majority of time, actually, one of the things I forgot to say to Mark as well, is household domestics is also one of the biggest causes for relationship arguments. And as we know, arguments lead to things like divorce because they can't just see eye to eye on things.
Yeah. Well, and I don't want to like give like a personal anecdote, but I just want to say that like I can understand that like there have been times where I couldn't be physically attracted to that person anymore because I had to do so much parenting that it became unattractive to me, and I couldn't get back to that. And that was reasons why I left the relationship, was because I felt like the adult in the relationship. And attraction can change. And I think that, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I also think, men are more physical, and I think women are more in that they do sort of that attraction can change, where I think men are more driven, where that attraction, if it's physical, it's still there. Am I off base on that, or what do you think as far as like from a man's perspective?
Well, yeah. Well, I would say yes. I understand what you're saying with the physical, right? And that's why we have a lot of men that will always talk about the reasons why they supposedly prefer younger women is because they have this attachment of beauty to youth, and so when they're not seeing deeper than what's on the outside, where is the connection? Where is the connection of that relationship? How deep does it go? Because there's so much more to a person than their looks. And so, there is that kind of aspect of, at what point do you feel like you're connecting with your partner on a level where when the times get tough because of communication, you're able to actually have those conversations effectively to ensure that this remains a strong relationship. And I say this quite often, where I personally think that men are not the best at dating, because I don't think they understand what they should be, like what questions they should be asking, what conversations they should be having to identify whether or not this is someone they can see themselves being with long term. Because what a lot of them will do on a date, in my opinion, is they will maybe flirt, they will have a laugh and joke, and maybe there'll be a bit of intimacy. They'll show maybe elements of confidence, and if at the end of it they come away thinking, yeah, that was a good time, they might deem that as a successful date, and they'll rinse and repeat the same kind of things over and over again, and they won't test the boundaries of how deep can I go on an emotional level with this person.
Yeah.
Yeah, somebody in my chat once said this. I'm gonna mute because I feel like now I don't want to take up the time here. But I heard this once and it stuck with me, and I keep saying it, is that I often find that somebody said men don't listen to women enough to be able to judge them on their character, because you find that, like, how did you not know that these were her standards or wants or needs or desires 6 months, 8 months in? And that's because, like, I feel like what Lex is saying is that they didn't really get into the true character of the person. Okay, I'm gonna mute myself now. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to say, no, I agree. I think a part of it is, I guess, maybe like the way men interact with each other and how they share their experience on dates develops into what they think they should do on a date. Like, from my own experience, I feel like people say a lot of the time, I think having emotionally intelligent friends and maybe a mixed friend group where you can discuss things with each other on an emotional level is an opportunity to learn, rather than if you keep things purely I feel like maybe this is an issue that doesn't really go between, is more the quality of the person, but to an extent, let's say, I feel like a lot of guys, I'm in university now, I feel like a lot of guys view any like conversation with women as say like romantic, or with some end goal of there being some intimacy. I feel like that it can be quite detrimental towards like the way relationships unfold. I think it can go both ways as well. But something someone said to me recently, which was really eye-opening, was they said just be friends with someone to learn about them, and if you start off as keeping things platonic, talk to them as your friend, and you let it develop, like the maybe intimacy or the flirting, then that's the best way to approach a relationship.
Yeah, I don't entirely disagree. I would just say that as long as if the individual who takes that approach isn't viewing them as someone they want to be in a relationship from the get-go. Because
that's exactly what I meant. Yeah, that's exactly what I meant.
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
Would be the friend zone topic, right?
I mean, look, I'll give you an example, right? Sorry, Ash, you don't want
No.
just while Mark's here as well. When men ask questions to women on dates, right, I love to hear the type of questions that men ask, because I want to know how they feel like they're connecting with that person.
Yossi star internet small good.
That's Timo. I believe he's saying donate. So yes, do what Timo says. Donate. Thank you.
And I just think that sometimes some of the questions that men could ask women, I think would demonstrate like a different experience for women on dates. I think if you ask a question something like, what is your idea of happiness, right? That's a slightly deeper sort of question that opens up a response where you really get to know someone and understand what it's like for them to, describe and get into their mindset right there of what that looks like to them, and you kind of being invited into that sort of slight opening and journey with them. Some like, and you can ask like interesting, funny questions like, what would you do if you knew nobody would judge you? Right? Like these kind of questions that get you thinking, where you go, ooh, and it's like there's lots of games that you can actually go and buy where you have these cards, where they have such incredible questions like this, and you'd just be surprised how dates don't need to be this whole I need to spend X amount of money to impress, because you can spend as much money as you like, but if you've got no personality and you've not got anything about you in a charismatic way, or anything that kind of shows more of an insight as to what it's going to be like to live with you and communicate with you daily, then that's not going to stand for anything. And unfortunately, a lot of men still kind of unalive on this hill that women are only interested in men's money, and that's drastically changed over recent years. If you look at what women are very much interested in, as I said before, it's kindness, emotional intelligence, and communication. And those are things that men haven't necessarily placed a huge emphasis or importance on when it comes to getting to know, potential partner.
Hey, Daniel.
Yo. Sorry, I'm not too sure what this live's about.
Oh, I'm muted. Sorry, Danny. Hold on one second, Danny.
All right.
Sorry. Hold on. I'm gonna thank you, Mark. I just wanted to say, did you want to add anything else to the conversation? It kind of sounds like you wanted to have. Okay, and you.
I'll let Daniel speak.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and drop you down if that's okay, though. We're just gonna do kind of some one-on-ones to see. Sure. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for coming up and invoking the conversation. Danny, you did request, right?
Yeah.
Okay, but you don't know what the live is about?
No, I just wanted to get involved in any way I can.
Okay, is that Are you starting off to troll, or are you wanting to have a genuine conversation? Because I'm just kind of
No, I want to
curious.
continue the conversation.
Okay. Great. Okay, so you just wanted to be involved however you can. Great.
Yeah.
Okay. Which one of the topics up? Let's try to not talk about body count. We just talked about that. I'd like to have a different conversation if that's okay. Is there a different topic you wanted to discuss?
I reckon men can't police women.
Police women, sure. I'm going to go on mute, and Lex here, my co-host, is going to kind of take over and have these conversations, okay?
All right, bro.
All right, great. Oh, how old are you, Danny? Sorry.
I'm 18.
I'm sure you are. Okay.
Hey, Danny. So, what is it that you think that men should or can police women on?
I don't think they can police them on anything. I think women should be able to just do what they want.
Oh, so basically you agree then?
Yes.
Okay. Is there anything you disagree with?
Yeah, sorry. We're trying to sort of have conversation. Okay. Alrighty. Okay.
Kind of had a feeling, to be fair.
I'm not sure what that was about. Okay, we can just maybe pick up on jumping back in and just talking about the rest of these topics and see if anybody else requests. So if you guys it is 21 plus. I was going to remove that actually for this live. I have the 21 and plus for my own personal boundary. I don't, as a 43-year-old woman, I don't really like talking to teenagers, especially when we get into topics that are like, it's just my own comfortable thing, but I was going to remove that because I'm not the one generally having the conversation today. So, and I can, adjust those preferences, per person who comes up or whatnot. Okay, well, actually, there's somebody else in the guest request. Let's see if this is, let's see if this works. And then, because I had 19 cups of coffee this morning, I have to use the bathroom again. So, and the water. So, Dan, hi, how old are you?
What's going on? I'm 26.
Okay. Did you want to talk specifically about one of the topics on the background?
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to talk about the bottom one, but I know you guys just got done talking about that, so I don't know.
Is that the only one that you really disagree with?
Well,
Or?
I mean, I guess we can talk about the first one too, because I know that guy, was going to talk about it, but he didn't really.
Yeah,
he kind of agreed.
I shortened it. It's really, Lex, how do you phrase it? Men cannot hold women accountable. So interchangeably, that's kind of what that topic means. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah. Wait, the first one?
Yeah.
Like men can't please. Okay, yeah. So men can't. So I guess my first question would be, what do you mean by police? Like like having social stigmas, having opinions as to what they like and what they don't like, right? Like, what do you mean by police?
Yeah, as Ash was saying, it's about holding women accountable. I would say that men can't hold women accountable for something collectively that women are supposedly doing, because I don't think there is anything out there that women are collectively doing that's oppressing men, or something that men are not also doing to women, if not more than.
Okay, I guess that's fair. I mean, like, if you're speaking in like a general sense, I thought like, it's like I said, like when I see police, my first like thought is, do you mean like social stigma, like people having opinions as to what women should do or shouldn't do, right? Like, is that
I suppose what I mean by it is recognizing that the patriarchy we live in is upheld by misogyny. Men upholding that is something men need to be held accountable for. The disproportionate violence that men cause to women and girls is something men need to be held accountable for. I would say that as the oppressors, you can't expect the oppressed to be accountable for something that majority of the time, if not always, you could revert back to the root cause being because of men in some way, especially when it comes to societal stereotypes and standards and expectations. So I'm saying that there's not really, like, a lot of men will come up and say, women need to be held accountable for things. And it's like, well, what specifically do they need to be held accountable for? I'm curious. And I'm very much yet to find an answer from these men who believe that there is something specific that women do need to be called out on. And that's just pretty much where
that's fair. I mean, that's fair. I mean, I guess when people say that, like when men say, women need to be held accountable, I feel like that's kind of a blanket statement. Like, you can kind of like, I guess would be my first question too, like, accountable for what exactly? But also at the same time, I mean, I think, if you have an answer as to what they should be held accountable for, or one specific thing, and you have a reason or thought behind it, then, I mean, I guess I'd be willing to hear them out at least.
No, I mean, like I said, I think that on an individual level, we can hold people accountable for their actions and behaviours. But the aspect of this is talking about, the dynamics between men and women, and the effects of society and patriarchy, and how women being disadvantaged in that, and what that's led to today, and the things that still need to change. So yeah, I genuinely don't have anything, because I would obviously be still waiting for men to give me something that they think women should be held accountable for. Because most of the time the things they say are not rooted in anything statistical.
Okay, then that's fair. But let me ask you this then: would you say the same thing for men then, that men can't collectively be held accountable for anything specifically, and that you can hold individual men accountable, but not necessarily men as a whole?
No, because I think all men are.
Why? That's kind of a contradiction, though, is it not?
No, because I think that all men are inherently misogynistic, and I think men need to unpack that. And I would say the majority of men don't. And I would say the majority.
I kind of disagree with that. I'm kind of a very big individualist, and I don't think I'm responsible for anybody else's actions but my own. And I think that if everybody else had that mindset, that the world would be better off. And
so, if you were out with your friends and one of your friends catcalled a woman, do you not think you have a responsibility to call him out on his behavior?
Well, I mean, sure, I also do, but I also believe in the fact that I could say something, but my friend could also say "fuck you." Like, what do you like? Who are you to tell me what to do? Like, type shit.
What do you do next? Let's say he does say that to you. Now, what's your next move? What do you do?
My next move is okay. Like, what else am I going to say? What else am I going to do? Like, you don't have a response to that.
I'm asking I'm asking you. Like, your friend does that. Your friend says that to you. What do you now do?
I mean, that's a good question. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what I would do. I mean, I don't. If you're asking me if I would stop being my friend's friend over that, probably not. I mean, it takes a lot for me to cut you out of your, for me to cut, you out of my life. I give people a lot of chances, I would say. So,
but you've just proved my point there, which is the fact that you wouldn't hold him accountable. You would.
Why am I responsible for holding him accountable if
no, you're not holding
he's responsible for correcting his own behavior?
Yes, but you're also not holding yourself accountable, because you're choosing to be with someone who behaves like that, which means you are then enabling that behavior.
How am I enabling it? That's a really stretch of a word that you're using there for that. I don't think that's enabling him at all, because like, whether I do something or I don't do something, if he's the type of person that's say he's a narcissistic person, or he has narcissistic personality traits, or he's somebody that is an individualist like myself, and is just like, okay, like, sure, I can take their advice, but I could also say, no, I'm going to do what I want.
Dan,
at the end of the day,
you choosing to continue to be his friend is basically saying to him that his actions don't bother you enough to want to come away from him.
So if my friend cat calls a girl, if my friend says, "Oh, that girl has a nice ass," to her, or something along those lines, that's grounds for me stopping to be his friend.
Hold on,
is that what you're saying?
Hold on, I said to you, how does he respond to you when you call him out on it? And I'm saying that if his response is the one that you gave, which is F you, then firstly, what he's basically demonstrating to you is that he doesn't care about the effect it has on women. He doesn't care about your views on how it affects women. So what sort of a friendship is that? One that you choose to still think is valuable enough to still be his friend. So yes, I would say actually that would be grounds for reason to say, why would I want to hang around with someone who's going to treat women and girls like that?
So if somebody makes I think that's ridiculous. I mean, I think if they're actively harming somebody or doing something that's actually genuinely harmful, I don't think that hurt feelings are something that's extremely harmful, dude. Like, I don't think that somebody hurting somebody else's feelings or calling somebody a name is grounds to cut them out of my life. I'm sorry, that's not that huge of an issue for me.
Of course, it's not a huge issue for you, and that's the point. Is you don't understand.
But how does hurt feelings equate to somebody actually being harmed?
Sorry, that is harm. Obviously,
it's not. Yeah.
What age do you think?
Okay, yeah, it's harm. You get a little butt hurt. Okay, yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right.
You get a little butt hurt from SH.
Okay, hold on one second.
That's not the same thing.
Dan, be quiet for just 1 second, please. Lex, how do you handle over-talking and muting on your platform? Do you want mod powers to do that, or do you want me to tell my mods to jump in? I don't know if I can give them to you at the moment. I want to
I'm fine. I'm fine
Okay.
with it, honestly.
Okay.
I'm just trying
I
to
just wanna
understand how. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay,
It's
all right,
fine.
Dan, go ahead. I have to do the restroom thing. I'll be back.
Yeah, and when you say sh, what do you think that that's a very broad term also, and there's a lot of things that people would classify as
Catcalling is defined as SH.
even though some people wouldn't consider it that.
Catcalling is defined as SH.
What?
Catcalling.
Okay, cat. What would you define as catcalling?
The example you gave.
So if I say anything to a girl that's unwanted, that's catcalling by definition.
Girl. They're women.
Even if it's not even if it's just any random thing. If I yell, hey, I like your shirt across the street to a girl, that would be.
Girl. We're talking about women.
All right, don't get into a semantics argument. You know what I meant. Woman, girl, like do you correct a woman every time she says I'm just a girl for when she makes a mistake? Do you correct them and say you're not a girl, you're a woman?
So she's talking about herself?
Yeah.
You're talking about other people.
What does that matter?
You want to talk
What
about
does that
yourself?
matter? Okay, so
about
people are allowed to
yourself,
infantilize themselves, but if somebody else does it, then it's a problem.
Well, how can you not see the difference between the two?
How can I not see? Because I think that both would be harmful then by definition. You can't just be like, okay, yeah, I'm going to infantilize myself. I'm going to think that I'm a baby, but everybody else around me isn't. But if somebody else calls me a baby, then it's an issue. What? That doesn't make any sense.
So you don't seem to think that it's a problem that your friend did what you sort of gave as an example, and you think that.
Can you answer? Wait. Can you answer my direct example? So if I yell to a woman across the street from me, "Hey, I like your shirt," is that catcalling or sexual harassment?
Would you say that it's unwanted?
What what do you mean unwanted? Like,
why were you screaming across the road?
What do you mean? What do you mean unwanted? Like not expected?
You're yelling
like you didn't expect it?
Dan, you're yelling across the road to a woman. Why would you do that? Someone you don't even know. How can you not see that is not something?
I'm not asking you what the intent was behind me saying it. I'm asking you if that would be classified as sexual harassment or catcalling.
Women don't like to be yelled at. I'll
answer. Can you answer my question?
Yes,
Can you answer my question, please?
Under the definition, it says.
So yes,
rude, derogatory, or unwelcome comment.
Yes.
So yes.
Come on. You cannot be serious.
Well, this is an issue, Dan.
that is.
Dan, this is an issue. Is you don't like the definition that's given, and so for you now, you seem to have a problem with it, and you're taking it out on everyone who is following the recognition of what catcalling means. That's a you issue. But what's interesting is you had to try and change it to something that seemed maybe lighter than the original example you gave, even though you still couldn't answer my question as to how you choosing to continue being his friend, knowing that that's how he speaks to women, is not something you need to be held accountable for. Like, you're saying that's okay. That's basically what you've decided.
That's not what I said. What I said was that's not grounds for me to stop being somebody's friend because I don't like that they said something. Like that's not reason enough. If they didn't attack me, my personal character, anybody else in my general vicinity of personal friends or associates, then no, that's not grounds for somebody
attacked a stranger woman who you don't know. That's okay because it's not.
But that's not an attack though. That's not an attack. They said a word that might have hurt their feelings.
What age?
What
do you think the average age is that women get catcalled?
Why are you pivoting now? Why are you pivoting now? What does that have to do with anything?
Firstly, we're literally talking about catcalling. It's the exact same topic.
Okay, yeah, and you pivoted by asking me, what do you think the average age is by women that get catcalled?
Yeah,
what does that matter? What does that matter?
How about you let me get a word in and you understand it a little bit? Yeah, maybe we could do that. So the reason why it matters is because your view of this is, quote unquote, the words you said, just hurt feelings. That's how much you belittle the situation because you don't think it has a huge impact on women. When women are experiencing catcalling from single digit ages, that's the experience that they get of men. Because men will catcall girls in uniform.
Wait, Lex. Do you think that saying to somebody that they have a nice shirt is different from saying that they have a nice whatever?
Now who's pivoting? Now who's pivoting?
Do you think that's the same thing?
So now who's pivoting?
No, because this is like a genuine
You're not
question that's
engaging in
related to this, and your answer is really going to tell me everything I need to know.
You're not engaging in what I've just asked you. You've just decided to completely derail that conversation there when I was still in the middle.
Okay, yeah, you derailed also.
No, I didn't. I just spoke about catcalling after we finished your point.
And then you also derailed by saying that what's the average age of women that get catcalled? That was a derail, and then you just got upset that I did the same exact thing.
No, we didn't derail. We finished the conversation. You said you didn't think it was grounds to end a friendship. I said fine. So then I changed the conversation to something else on catcalling. That's not derailing. That's talking about a different point. That conversation was finished, wasn't it?
No, it wasn't, because we were still.
What did you want to add to that then? Okay, so let's go back then so that I supposedly don't derail. You said that it's not grounds to end a friendship. What would you like to add to that now?
Okay, yeah, there's nothing that I have to add to that statement. It's not grounds to add a friendship.
The conversation ended, so I now moved it on. That's how conversations work. My next point was women experiencing catcalling at the age of being a girl, right? Single digits, is going to surely be some form of a trauma response at times, knowing that happened to them when they were a vulnerable girl at school, going about their day, and they get catcalled by a man. So for you to say that it's
Lex, I think that catcalling children is an issue. Okay, I'm not gonna sit here and try to agree with that. And that's a big difference between catcalling a woman that's a child versus an actual not a minor, right? An adult. Don't you think that's a big difference?
But that's your problem.
How is that my problem? That's a big difference, dude.
No, but you think as soon as you become an adult, the behavior is now more accepting. Just because you're an adult.
That's a straw man. That's a straw man, dude. That's such a straw man. That is not.
What are you trying to compare a child and an adult to then?
One thing that's not an entailment of the other thing. That's not.
So tell me why it matters that. Tell me why it matters being a woman or a child. Explain to me why it matters to tackle
one is a child that can't even consent to any sort of what's called sexual attention or flirting or anything with anybody that's over the age of 18 versus somebody that's actually a woman that's over the age of 18.
Wait, hold on, Dan.
What are you talking about?
She's
that's
also.
That's not.
I'll just go ahead and mute you, actually. And Lex, will you comment? I'm trying to figure out how to make you. The woman that is being yelled at is also not consenting. So are you saying that once you're an adult, that automatically you're just allowed to be...
No, but the thing is, the child cannot consent, period.
Okay, so
the child cannot consent, period.
So are you saying... Right. So how is a woman across the street consenting, and how do you know she wants to be yelled at?
Thank you. Exactly.
Right?
You don't, but I.
Okay. I'll go ahead and mute you now. So if you don't know that somebody wants to be yelled at, then it would be fair to say that you don't know that she might not. That might be completely unwanted, right? It could be unwanted. And,
okay.
And who gets?
I wouldn't know if you wanted $10, but if I came up to you and handed you $10, that would.
Right. So are you saying that you should? Are you right? Well, because you're not listening. You're not listening. I need you to listen, right?
No, I literally just listen.
Do you think that you could just go up to a woman and put your hands on her and then wait to see if she wants it or not? You wouldn't know. You wouldn't know why. Why? Where's the line on consent? What are you allowed to do to people before asking, and what are you not allowed to do to people? How close could I get to a woman?
Invading personal space, any form of physical touch.
So great. So as long as you're a certain distance amount of away, you could get on a bullhorn and start screaming things, right? Is that what you're saying? As long as there's no physical touch.
As long as it doesn't violate any laws, absolutely, yeah.
Oh, so if it doesn't violate any laws, so you just want to appeal to legality. So whatever the law says, you're fine with doing.
In that
great.
Situation, yeah.
So how do you feel? Great. So how do you
give me the contrary as to why I shouldn't?
Sure. How do you feel about in 48 states where adult men are allowed to marry girls as young as 16. Do you think that that's okay
Why,
because it's legal?
why are you pivoting now?
I'm
What
not
does that have to
pivoting.
do
I'm
with
trying
it?
to
Yes, you are.
No,
what does
Dan.
that have to do with your point?
Dan, we're
obviously,
trying.
I wouldn't be for that.
Why? It's legal. It's legal. It's not breaking any laws for a parent to marry their 16-year-old to an adult man.
I just told you in that situation, I'm appealing to legality. That doesn't mean I'm appealing to legality in every single situation.
Well, then how are
I'm
we supposed to know?
legality in that situation because there's no other thing besides one, hurting somebody's feelings, or B, making somebody
right. So you get to decide how people get to feel. So you're saying that you, as the person who's putting that on people, you get to decide where it's harm and where it's not harm. And the person that it's happening to can't say that, and tough fucking luck because I didn't touch you. That's what you're saying, Dan? Let me ask you a question.
Do
you think a man
That's exactly what
I'm
saying.
Do you think a man could expose himself to me from across the street?
No, because
why not?
Because that's against the law. Wait, what are you talking
about?
It's against that's exposure. That's lewd.
Okay, what if it wasn't? What if it wasn't against the law?
Sexual harassment is also against the law.
Against the law.
What if it wasn't
that is
against
such
the law?
A stupid what if question. It would never be against the law.
Okay.
So that's a dumb what if question, and I'm not answering that insane hypothetical because that's not a realistic hypothetical.
But it is. I mean, there was a time when people weren't even.
It's not. There was a time when slavery existed.
Correct.
Okay,
right. So I'm asking. Right. So I want to ask you how you're
over to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just to confirm, sexual harassment is illegal.
Yes, it is, which is why you can't bring up a point like that. It's not realistic.
No, we're saying sexual harassment is illegal, and catcalling is a form of sexual harassment. So when you're saying that you appeal to legality, that would be illegal.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. But catcalling is very broad, right? I just gave you an example of that you would classify as catcalling, which most eyes in the sense of a law would throw out any sort of case or any charge that would get filed for an instance like that. Like, do you realize that?
Okay, so Dan,
there's things called gray
areas.
Dan,
let me ask you a question. Dan,
it's called nuance.
Awesome, great.
It's called.
I'll just go ahead and mute you, Dan. So I just want to get this straight, right? Is that you're saying that as long as the law doesn't say it's sexual harassment or catcalling, you're okay, even if it makes a woman uncomfortable because it's not put in law. And that you wouldn't want to err on the side of not making women uncomfortable. Do you think more often than not a man yelling across the street at a woman, anything, do you think what do you think most likely the response would be? That would make her feel startled and uncomfortable, or that she would want that?
Actually, I don't know. I mean, there could be an instance where she could get startled or uncomfortable.
Do you think women, Dan?
Or she could yell across or she could just yell across and say.
Here, I'm just gonna go ahead and mute you again. Dan, just answer the question, Dan. Do you think women like to be yelled at by men, or do you think women don't like to be yelled at by men?
That's a very broad question, and I can't speak for all women on that question. That's what I can't speak for all.
Generally speaking,
some women might like that. I don't know.
Generally speaking,
what do you mean generally? Okay.
You can't answer that question. Do you think women generally like to be yelled at by strange men they don't know, or do you think they don't want to be yelled at by strange men that they don't know?
Like I said, I can't speak for all women. I mean, generally, sure, you could say sure,
okay.
But
so if women generally don't want to be yelled at from across the street, right? Why wouldn't you say, hey, man, she probably doesn't like that? Right? And then if your friend, right, you keep saying...
Okay, yeah, that's fair.
Okay, great. And then, hold on, right? Lex didn't say that was grounds for ending the friendship. What he said was when you said, hey, dude, like... let's not yell at women across the street. If he said, fuck you to you, that is when you have the responsibility to go, okay, what's wrong here? And is this person a safe person for women if he absolutely does not care that he's most likely making women uncomfortable? And then as a man trying to hold him accountable, he then dismissed you. So now
There's actual no. What see the thing is what you're kind of doing, Ash, is you're like incredibly like this is the lowest bottom, but literally the most rock bottom you can get in terms of harm. There's actual women that get
that's
essayed
great. And that's why
get abused by men on a daily basis.
That's great.
And you're minimizing their entire experiences so much right now by focusing.
Okay, great. Oh, thank you. Yeah.
Wow.
So
Yes,
no, I actually think it's a great place. Calm down, Dan. Dan, you don't care about women, so don't pretend like you care about women. Because if you cared about women, you would care about women in all harm, right? And so I actually think talking.
Where does it?
Talking
where does it say,
about.
Where does it say anywhere?
I'll just wait till you get muted, right?
It's like writing or reading or social etiquette that you have.
Actually, I think it's a great starting point to look at what might be considered the lowest amount of harm, right? So sure, I could agree with you that maybe yelling, "I like your shirt" across the street is probably a minimal amount of harm, right? So why not look there and go, you know what, let's start here and say this isn't okay, and then everything up from there should also not be okay, right? Because if that's not okay, Dan, then where's the line? Why don't you tell me, Dan, hold on, Dan, why don't you tell me where you would step in?
Okay, I am telling.
Okay, go ahead.
Could you imagine if you got into an accident?
Don't ask me. Don't ask me a question. No.
I'm trying to give you an example. I'm trying to give you an example that's going to perfectly explain this. This is going to perfectly explain.
No, I want you to answer my question. That I just want you to tell me where. No, I just want you to. Okay, sure. Go ahead.
This is going to perfectly explain.
Go ahead, Dan. Go ahead, Dan.
Okay, so imagine if you were in a brutal accident and every part of your body's broken. You have a broken back, broken leg, broken pelvis, whatever, and then ambulance team gets there and they're like, okay, we need to fix your broken arm. Like, they're only focusing on your broken arm, and like, wouldn't you be sitting there going like, bro, I have a broken pelvis, my entire body's broken, and you're focusing on my little
so
arm?
I have no idea what that has to do with anything. So I'll just go ahead and answer the question that I asked you, which was that's not the question I asked. The question that I asked you, Dan, how come you can't have a conversation with me, a woman, but you haven't crashed out on Lex this way? And
oh my God! Here we go with the dog whistle, with the misogynist.
Well, I'm just wondering why.
With the misogynist.
I'm just wondering why you're having such a hard time listening to me, and why you can't answer the question. So
not listening.
Okay, great. So can you tell us when is the point where you would step in, right? So you're not going to step in at yelling. When will you step in, Dan?
I would step in if they said something genuinely harmful, or if
like
they
what?
Or if they said like, oh, like I'm gonna follow you, I don't know, etc. Like I'm gonna like, I don't know, something actually like harmful, something that's gonna make them feel like, you know, like they should fear for their safety,
okay,
not that they should not. Like, do you realize that fearing for your safety and fear and being and getting the ick are two different things, right?
Okay, great. So now your friend says, fuck you. Do you end the friendship?
Yeah, probably in that instance, yeah.
Okay. And that's the line.
Do you not see the difference? I don't understand.
No,
like, why?
I don't. You answer.
Why don't you see the difference? One is extremely harmful. One is getting the ick. One is fearing for your safety. One is getting the ick. Do you not see the difference?
Well, because I asked you, right? If it was
like why are you focusing? Why are you focusing?
Do you want me to answer the
question? Getting the ick versus actually something being harmful?
Do you want me to answer the question? Because being catcalled and screamed at by men in public is harmful, and the women are telling
getting
you.
The ick. That's getting the ick.
I don't think it's getting the ick. I think it makes me think.
Really?
Wow.
How's it? Okay. It makes you. It makes you uncomfortable. Okay.
Yeah, because when I go, I'll tell you why, Dan. Because
fearing for your safety.
Yes, when I go running.
Yes.
Dan,
yes.
Do you want me to answer the question? Again, why are you having such a hard time having a conversation with me? So when I go running, when I see the same car pass me twice, I am scared, right? If I'm out running and a man yells at me, I absolutely go to where could this interaction go? And many women will tell you that. And here's where we have an issue is that you don't want to listen to what women are telling you, and you aren't interested in minimizing harm. You are interested in excusing it. And that's what I'm witnessing here. And
Are you fearing for your safety? If you're not,
I just told you that if a man yells at me
that
that
wouldn't be fearing for that wouldn't be.
but
fearing
I'm
for your
telling
safety.
you, I'm telling you it is. I'm telling you it is.
That's not what I said.
I'm telling you that it is. That if a man I don't know yells at me in public, that yes, there is a level of me that
Yes,
goes.
you're fearing for your safety. If somebody yells at you, Jesus, you must have a really.
Well,
You must have a really difficult time in this world. Then, if you get uncomfortable, your safety when somebody yells at you. Come on, how do you have an actual job? How do you have a boss?
So
how do you have an
Well, my boss, first of all, is a woman, and she doesn't yell at me, right?
Really?
And my boss is not, and my boss is not
you must
a
have
stranger.
such a difficult time in life if you when somebody yells at you, like.
This is so embarrassing for you, Dan.
No,
Sorry,
it's embarrassing.
Yeah.
That you're literally as soft as.
All right.
Safety
what we're
when
gonna
somebody
do
yells.
now, what we're gonna do now is actually just go ahead and end this conversation. Sorry, Lex, I didn't mean to take over, but I think it was a perfect example of.
Not at all. It's your life. Is victim blaming and Dava at its finest right there at the end as well.
Yeah. Erica, I see you in the guest request. I am not letting up friendlies at the moment. Now, near the end, I think we are inviting men up to talk to Lex kind of on this. So, Bubby, Erica, now here, actually, what time is it? It's 3:30. Actually, I'll take that back. Let's shift it. Now, I am going to pause before I let up Erica and Bubby. I'm not sure who Bubby is. But if there are any men friendlies who are here and are disgusted with this and would like to come up and just... Lex, I thought about this. I just totally threw all these questions on you too. I should have sent these to you and been like, hey, this is what... But I'm glad it worked out. It was good and organic as well. But so if there's any men friendlies that would like to come up and just, I don't know, cherry pick... is that not cherry pick? Pick Lex's brain. Because I think the next phase of kind of what I was sort of wanting to get out of this, and maybe sometime down the road we can do this again, is that when are men ready to then be advocates, right? When, how do you know that you're ready to now have the platform? And I don't want to get into anything, the really long week we had yesterday, but that line can be so thin. And how, so I just want to invite people up to just ask questions, or maybe Lex can talk about that. Men who want to ask Lex questions. Yes, thank you so much, Paige. She's like, here's the 5 words you need. I'm going to talk for 5 minutes on it. Los, I can't pick your full name, won't come up for me. Are you in opposition?
Not to everything, no ma'am.
Okay, Lex, what do you want to do? Do you want to maybe see what this conversation is? Because Vertigo is also not a friendly. Oh, crap. Okay. Do you want to, end this portion? Do you want to keep having conversations? Would you like to talk to, some men friendlies? What do you want to do?
Honestly, it's entirely up to you. I've probably got another 20-25 minutes left. So
yeah, same.
Whatever.
Let's ask the chat. Chat, what do you guys want us to do? Do you guys want us to invite men friendlies up who want to sort of just ask questions, or do we want to do opposition right now?
Yeah, let's do opposition.
Okay, Vertigo, great. Okay, they want opposition. Okay, with that being said, then, yeah, we'll maybe do it. Maybe we can do another friendly if Lex is down for that or something later on down the road. So we'll just keep this here. This person didn't speak up, so I'm not sure. But Vertigo, great. Have fun with Vertigo. I'm just gonna mute myself on this.
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
Okay. Which topic, Vertigo, do you want to talk to Lex on?
Let's do body count equal misogyny plus insecurity.
All right, we'll do that one again. Okay. All right, go ahead.
All right, so body count kind of does matter.
Do you want to share with me your reasons why?
Oh yeah, someone's past is a pretty good indication of their future.
How?
Yeah, so we pay attention to the past and like literally everything from criminal records to psychological records. So being aware of it and tracking it isn't a bad thing.
How are you tracking someone's patterns of behavior from a number? Does that tell you the full picture, or do you need context?
You need context, but it's still important.
Okay, so if you get context, then you're now going beyond body count, which means that it's not body count that matters, it's the context that matters, which is entirely different.
I mean, it's like you're just playing semantics. Someone has a high body count and they just did it because they enjoy sexual acts. I'll go, okay, you're just a promiscuous person and I wouldn't want to be with you.
So let's say that you have a 30-year-old woman and her body count is 50.
Damn, bro.
And she tells you that from the ages of 18 to 24, she had sex with 49 different men. And then from the age of 24 to 30, she was in a 6-year relationship. What does that tell you about her when she maybe splits up from that relationship and wants to date again?
Yeah, I would just say, well, I don't think people would want to date you again. I mean, I personally won't because I have self-respect, but maybe someone who might not might date
Body
you.
count's nothing to do with self-respect. That's just a projection of your own beliefs.
I mean, if you feel that way, it's worked for me. I'm not a red pilled. I don't think women are bad. I just think I hold the standard for myself. It's a boundary.
Yeah, again, standards rooted in something.
Yeah, I'll say my standard is rooted in logic.
Well, it can't be, because I just gave you an example of a woman who was in a 6-year relationship with someone, which means that there'd be no promiscuity there, and she's looking to be committed in a relationship again when she held down a relationship for 6 years. That's not a reflection on her body count.
Okay, I'll give you a better example. If I was serving in the military and I did war
Right,
crimes...
you haven't even spoken about my example.
Yeah, so your example is still wrong because she still did the past actions even if she waited a really long time. So the time doesn't really change anything.
Of course it does, because you said it's patterns of behaviour, and that's not a pattern then. The pattern actually is that she was in a 6-year committed relationship.
But she still did those actions that I don't agree with.
Yeah, you don't agree with it because of what? Insecurities or misogyny? Because it's definitely not logic. That's the point. Your logic was debunked because the example you gave was pattern. It's not a pattern, clearly.
Okay, well, take your logic and apply it. So if I was a serial unaliver and I unalived 49 people, but then for the rest of my life I didn't unalive anyone else, should I not be held accountable if they find my, the crimes?
Sure, have you inflicted harm on someone by doing that?
Wait, but for a real long time I haven't been doing anything bad.
Right, but you've got a record of literally harming people.
It's not a record, I only did it.
Which is very different. You're conflating something that's illegal with something that's not. So how can you say that that's not apples and oranges?
Yeah, so what we're doing right now is not looking at the logic, you're just comparing the analogy. So I understand
because your analogy was terrible.
That's an appeal to ignorance. I mean, if you can't understand it, just because you can't comprehend it doesn't mean that's a bad analogy.
You just don't understand how it's not analogous because you've tried to compare something that's not like for like. If you're going to make a comparison, you do it for like. Otherwise, it doesn't hold. That's literally the point.
I'll ask you this question. So why is it bad for me to hold this standard? You're seeing some kind of insecurity, but how?
Well, it depends on the reasons you've given. So one of the reasons you gave was self-respect. If you're saying a woman lacks self-respect, then that would be misogynistic because you're choosing for her that it is a lack of self-respect about her decisions that she made with her body, which is not factual information, it's just your opinion. And so you believing that she has low self-respect for herself, again, is not true. That's just your belief.
Define respect.
You want me to Google it for
You
you?
Alex, sorry.
Hold on, buddy.
From Syria, help my.
Yeah, so I would say respect is holding something in a high regard. For me, she would be seen as someone who has low self-respect. She might not see herself that way because she might be delusional. But again, I'm not going to lower my standards for a woman.
Why are you using the word delusional? I don't understand.
Because she might not, because most of the world hold that standard and she's going against it. That would be something unorthodox.
Yeah, because most of the world hold that so-called standard, that means that her going against it is a bad thing because you want to follow the rest of society?
Oh, no, I'm following what's work, not the rest of society. I agree in society with a lot of different things, like when it comes to abortion, when it comes to like how harsh we should be on laws, and we should be harsher.
You said that yours is rooted in logic, and saying that it would be logical to follow the majority is not logical.
Well, it's rooted in my own anecdotal experience, which I've seen again and again, which would be logical. Every time I've seen like one of my homeboys or someone I know get in a relationship with a promiscuous woman. What?
What's your body count, Vertigo?
Me? 24.
How much?
24.
24. How old are you?
I'm 21.
Okay.
Yes, again.
Wait, what did you
I've
say?
seen-
You said your body count is 24?
Oh, yeah, is that an issue?
No, I just want to make sure I heard. You said your body count is 20. Okay. Didn't you say that? I'm confused.
He basically has no self-respect, is what you're saying.
So, are,
Oh,
yeah,
no, I don't have respect.
you don't
No,
have
you
self.
don't, because
You
you've got
don't
a
have
high body count.
self-respect.
Okay,
No.
you can feel that way. I mean, I still got, I got money, I'm tall.
I don't think anyone cares that you've got money and that you're tall, by the way.
I mean, my girlfriend does, but again,
Your girlfriend likes you because you have money and you're tall?
no, she liked me before I had money. Because I'm funny, I take care of her.
Right, so again, why did you mention money and height if that wasn't something she was interested in?
Because that's something to me that defines someone who has like grit, discipline, they work hard.
I thought that discipline, you've had schmecks with 24 different people. I wouldn't say that's very disciplined.
Oh yeah, I wasn't disciplined back then, I would agree.
Oh, so you mean patterns don't necessarily reflect how you are today then?
I mean, I still am. I was able to control better.
Almost
I
as
still
if we've
have-
just contradicted ourselves and been hypocritical at the same time.
No, I'm not contradicting myself because I would agree. I would see why someone might say I have low self-respect, and I would agree with them.
But then you shouldn't be getting into relationships with anyone, should you? Because you obviously have no discipline or self-respect. Why would you want to be with someone else if they are going to know that about you, right? Why would you put yourself in a position there to be in a relationship with someone when you've had such a past?
Why? Because I still believe that I was able to change, but again, she took that risk. I don't think I would.
Hey, so hold on. Let's go with this. So you believe that you were able to change, but for some reason she's not able to change.
I just wouldn't take that risk. She can, but why do I waste that risk, waste all my time? Why would I gamble on that when I can just find someone who wouldn't? You're acting as if I don't have the options to like make
I'm
them
just saying
slimmer.
that what you're doing is literally spelling out the word insecurity and you don't even recognize it.
Okay, so if I have supply
Can
and
I just
demand.
point something out to you super quick, Vertigo?
Oh, hold on. I want to answer this question. Then
No.
you can point it out.
Okay, cool.
No,
So,
actually,
like-
I do want to just let Erica say something too, because
All right, go ahead.
because Erica, I am just doing one-on-one or whatever, but I love you so much, and you always have such great
No,
things
that's
to say.
fine. I actually came up to talk about something the guy previously said. So if you want me to hold on for a minute, I'm happy to.
Do you mind?
No, it's
As
cool.
long as you're okay waiting, great. Okay,
No, absolutely fine.
thank you, appreciate it. Okay, Vertigo, go ahead.
All right, yeah. So if it's basically supply and demand, why would I settle for a woman? Why would I settle for less when I can get more? So if I know I can talk to 10 women who will meet all my requirements, but half of them have high body counts, why wouldn't I just exclude them and keep going slimmer until I find one?
Because you don't actually know whether or not the person who has a lower body count is actually going to be a better match for you. You're just making the assumption
No.
that it is.
Yeah, I made an assumption based on my own anecdotal experience. So yeah, I don't know why it hasn't proved me wrong. So again, what's the issue with that? I haven't seen any issue.
Because you're judging other women for the same thing that you've gone and done and upholding a double standard and then applying the aspect of self-respect and discipline to it, saying that you changed and that's okay, but for them, they haven't. And so what you've basically done is say that you don't want to take the risk of gamble, but you're expecting your partner that you're with now to take the risk of gamble.
I mean, yeah, but if she said no, I would have totally agreed. If she said no, I feel like this and that, I think you have no self-respect. Okay. I mean, my demand is so high, we're to the point where I can have people reject me. But yeah, I can definitely see how my path is shooting myself in the foot in the future. It definitely has. I'm not saying what I did was right or good. I'm just saying in the future, I want to have that standard. And if they want to have that standard, I would agree. I would go, yeah, you should totally have that standard.
Okay, I don't know where we go from here because obviously everything you've said is just very hypocritical towards everything when we found out your body count and the way that you view women in the same way. It's like I don't know what else you want me to say.
Yeah, it's fine. Let's just wrap up with some let's end this. Actually, let's end this on some good notes. Erica can chime in. I had a second video and I saved it. I thought it could be something we could end on before you go, Lex. And I loved this explanation in this video from this woman. And Erica, do you want to say what you wanted to say?
Yeah, so the guy was talking about earlier how catcalling is the least of all the harms. Well, the least of all the harms, first of all, would be keeping yourself to yourself and leaving everybody else fucking alone. That would be the least of the harms. But I just wanted to point out, so I was teaching a class today of 12 and 13-year-olds. And it was a religious education class, but we're talking about how religion has caused women to be treated, right? And we're talking about Adam and Eve and all of that stuff. And we watched the video, you've probably all seen it, of the woman walking through New York for 10 hours in silence, not making eye contact, not saying anything or doing anything, but getting catcalled and having comments made to her constantly. So we watched this video, and I asked the class when it finished to put their hand up if anyone had ever catcalled them or beat their car horn at them as they were walking down the street, and it actually shocked me that there were 17 girls in the class, and these are 12 and 13-year-old girls. There were 17 girls in the class, and 15 of them
I mean,
had
yeah,
been.
it's all our experience. I mean, the first
Yeah.
time, I mean, I think 16 the first time somebody pulled out. I mean, he called me over to his car to ask for directions or something. We were walking in like a strip mall, and he had a baby in the back seat, and he pulled his and was. I mean, this has happened 3 or 4 times to me before I was 21, where a man just pulled it out without any consent or to just show. I mean, it's just,
Yeah.
you know, yeah. I mean, and I have a 9-year-old daughter, so
Yeah. And the point is, those girls, at 12 or 13, you are 100% scared when an adult man makes a comment to you or catcalls you or shouts at you out of his car window as he drives past, even if you perceive that comment to be something that the other person should be in some way grateful for, like saying that someone's beautiful or that you like something they're wearing. And much of the time you don't know how old that person that you're saying that to is. You don't know whether it's a grown-up, because you can absolutely get 13, 14-year-old girls who look like 18, 19-year-old girls. And it does do harm, because those girls are scared when that happens. And we as adult women are fucking scared when that happens, because we don't know what the thing after that will be. We don't know what the next thing will be. Maybe you'll go away and you'll take that as a no, but maybe you won't.
that was
So that's all I wanted to
no,
say.
no, I agree with you. That's what I was saying in my experience. If a strange man yells at me, my question is like, is it gonna, like, what's next? Is he gonna yell again? Was it just nice? Should I smile? Like, whatever the case may be. Lex, I wanted to say thank you. I thought this was interesting. It was nice. I don't know how you feel about it, but it would be nice to maybe do this again sometime in the near future, but maybe just focus on inviting like friendlies up for like a Q&A. I don't know. How long can I use you for? I'm just kidding.
Yeah, we can definitely do it again. It was good. We had some good conversations.
Yeah.
I think, like, once again, there was an emphasis on men kind of contradicting and proving the point, which happens, I think, quite often. They don't realise how. But yes, I will definitely, we'll definitely do it again sometime.
Cool.
I'm probably going to come off now because it's getting late-ish.
Thank you for
appreciate
thanks for pushing it a little bit later for me with the time difference. I appreciate you so much. Feel free to drop. I'm going to play this video for you all. I just really liked this video. Now it's kind of surrounding. It starts off talking about the question about trans women in sports, but the person answering this question takes a journey to get there. And the things that they say, I thought were just really great. And this is talking about just like harm to women and what we're doing through all of these social movements that seem to be pressed, where the responsibility is on women, right? Where women have to prove things. So I want to share this video. And then I'm going to open up the panel maybe, and we can do, I think you guys must know what TikTok I was talking about, but because maybe you can see it right here. But
Your sister.
hi,
Listen
Timo.
up.
I was a college swimmer.
Oh.
Hi,
Timo was a college swimmer.
sister.
Okay.
Hi.
Did you
Hold
give
on
it
one
my
second.
Trans women
Yeah.
should not.
Timo and Amabu. Timo, are you in Gaza or Syria?
Syria.
Okay, so
Rafiji.
okay, Timo is in Syria, and Amabud is in Gaza, And Timo does platform with a lot of my mutuals, so this is one of the first or second times I've had Timo up. Amabud is obviously a regular, so please send all your coins. It's something very easy that we can do for folks that are in dire need of everything that we have right in the comfort of our home. Okay, so I'm going to play this video. Let me just see if I can...
Compete in girls'
You
sports.
give it to Bob.
Your sister-in-law who was a college swimmer.
Hold on, Timo.
Who was a college swimmer. Okay.
Hold on. Love you, Timo. Hold on, okay?
Trans women should not compete in girls' sports. Male puberty means bigger bones and more muscles,
shit.
and that does not disappear.
Hold on, sorry. Let me make this bigger for you guys. My bad. Okay.
Girls train their whole lives, then biological males take their scholarships. How is that fair to women?
Mm-hmm. I'm going to ask you whether or not it's possible that you are wrestling with a very small definition of fairness that doesn't really think of the whole picture. And maybe the thing that you're talking about is in fact not fair, but you are right and wrong at the same time. So I'm going to start with a sidebar, and I'll get there, I promise. So here's a sidebar, and I think you have to understand this in order to understand why the conclusion that trans women shouldn't compete in sports is not just a wrong one, but a dangerous one. You're risking so much by attacking trans people here, and I don't think you realize it. So I'm going to sidebar my way there. In the 1950s and 60s, it was incredibly difficult to end a marriage. The way that divorce laws were written at the time, you had to have your partner's permission in most states, so you couldn't leave your husband unless he told the court that you were allowed to leave him. Or you had to prove fault. In most cases, that meant cheating, where you had to have proof that the husband was cheating in order to get out of the marriage, which they weren't willing to give or easy to provide. That changed in the 1970s with the introduction of both unilateral divorce, where you didn't need your partner's permission, and no-fault divorce, where you didn't need to prove that something had gone wrong for the marriage to end. You could just walk away from a marriage. And women, freely, for the first time in history, could leave their husbands. So here's what economists found when they studied what happened to women when they were legally allowed and freely allowed to leave their husbands for the first time. An 8 to 16% decline in female suicide. A 30% decline in domestic violence for both men and women. And a 10% decline in females murdered by their partners. When women lack power, when they lack control, they lose physical safety. Now, it's not 1970 anymore, and some things change, but some things don't change. And in so many circumstances across our society and economy, when women gain power, when they gain control, they gain physical safety. When they lose power or they lose control, they lose physical safety. And we've seen this in everything from sexual harassment cases from Title VII of the Civil Rights Act to abortion laws and trap laws in states in the run-up to Roe being overturned. Women's power is a direct proxy for how physically safe they will be able to be. So, in order to prevent trans women from competing in sports, we need to come up with some kind of sex check that allows women to prove that they are actually women. Do you think this will fall on the side of giving women more or less power? It's going to be less. At the youth level, at the college level, at the professional level, women basically need to have some kind of proof of vagina in order to compete. And we are going to create gatekeepers that have the ability to say yes or no, because her word doesn't count anymore. It doesn't matter if someone comes up and says, I'm a real woman, I'm an actual woman, I'm the woman that I say that I am. All it takes is one accusation of actually that's a trans woman for her to be called into question. And now a gatekeeper has to come in and adjudicate and say, no, that's a real woman. How is that gatekeeper going to do that? And what kind of power will they have over women athletes and false accusations? I mean, I need you to go through in your head right now and just sit with it for 10 sobering seconds. Every article or news story you have ever read about the sexual abuse women athletes already face before any type of trans ban that came with its own counterpart of some kind of vagina check that someone needs to have. You're thinking of the predatory doctor in U.S. gymnastics? You're thinking of the National Women's Soccer League and the pay-for-play grooming coaches that got kicked out in a wave of scandal. So go back to those, how powerful those athletes were.
and how they were gate kept even without some type of sex check to be held over them. And then go back to what I said about the women who had the power to leave their husbands. And I'm going to ask you again, does a trans ban give more power to women athletes or less? Or does it give power to people over them to check their bodies? You are giving power over female athletes to men who check their vagina. And if you think anything other than that will happen, you just don't want to know the truth. You don't want to think about it in practice. You just want to say it's not fair that they grew up male and walk away, because your version of fairness is 1 square foot of real estate. It's one competition. It's one person. And not the tens of millions of girls who are thrown under the power of someone who can just simply say, I don't think you're a real girl, prove it. Absolutely not. You want to hate trans people? Go on ahead and hate trans people, but do not take it out on female athletes. And while we're discussing it, wearing my shirt for everybody.
I mean, I don't really want to say like go ahead and hate trans athletes, but I think her point is that this has never been about caring about women. This has never been about, they didn't care about women's sports. And I thought this journey that she took to get here has so much substance to what she's saying, is that when we start to police women like that, it causes harm to all women. And her statement about this 1 small square footage of fairness, right? Sports aren't fair to begin with. Right? When we talk about like Michael Phelps, right? If you're born with the capacity, like larger lungs or a larger wingspan or longer legs, I'm small, right? I had a certain advantage as having like a lower space to the ground. And I just thought, we'll finish listening, and I just thought what she was saying was so, I just never really thought about that. We talk about how it's such a small percentage of people, it's such a center of gravity, thank you. It's such a small percentage of trans people. Yes, that's true. And yes, though that small percentage of trans people also deserve to be protected, but let's look at what it is also doing overall. It's never been about protecting women, because if it was about protecting women, we wouldn't say all women now need men to say who they are. And you hear me talk often about that, and I think it's just very true that when women lose control and when they lose power, they lose autonomy and they lose safety. And our safety is absolutely attached to how much power and control we have over ourselves. And I think that that's kind of like the root discussion that I want to get to, is that when we give people the things that they need, when we give, this is including for men, when we give people autonomy over their body to make decisions, when we give people the things that they need, they generally make good decisions. We see positive outcomes. But anyway, we'll finish listening, and then I'll let up some friendlies if anybody else
who has
wants
a strong
to.
opinion on female athletes and what trans women should be allowed to do. Let's do a quick show of hands. Who here has been to a professional women's sporting event? Who's been to multiple, more than one league? Who has watched a women's sporting event on TV? It is remarkable to me how much women athletes are thrown around as if the biggest problem they face isn't the fact that they play in stadiums that they don't own, that they're paid shit for being a professional athlete, that they have terrible TV media deals, that they can't get themselves shown on TV to get the type of advertising that would get them pay. They can't do any of that. And all of that is unfair. But the only amount of unfairness you care about is that less than 0.25% of trans people who compete in sports. You don't want to see fairness in female athletes, because if you did, you would be irate at how little they're paid. You would be irate at how hard it is to watch them on TV, or how shitty their stadiums are compared to men, or how much money public governments have sank into professional stadiums for a men's team that packed up and left 10 years later, and they won't give a dime to the women's team in their locality. That is what is unfair. Do not delude yourself to say that this is about fairness for women.
Your sister.
Okay, so that is that. I know Casey, who is a women's athlete fan. She loves that. Okay, let me see who's in the guest request here. It looks like we just have one person. Do we have any friendlies that want to pop up and just kind of wrap the day up and give their thoughts and feelings? I'm not really interested in debating. I think this was a good live. This was the goal that I wanted. I'd love feedback from you all. So if you do want to have a quick chat, jump in the box. Otherwise, we can end. I also will say, if you'd like to contribute to my live goal right here for the education today, I would appreciate that. My pay links are in the bio. And join my Discord. That is in there. I'm just going to give it a few minutes to see if anybody wants to pop in. So I think that I might upload this live to my YouTube as well. I was waiting for a live where I didn't do anything completely unbelievable, like show sex positions or, you know, I don't know, talk about my body count spreadsheet or whatnot. Oops, I guess I did. So, but maybe we'll edit that out. So I might use this to, maybe I'll upload these as a series. I talked to Dr. Diggs, actually, I'm letting Dr. Dig up. Dr. Diggs sent me an article this morning, and so I've already reached out to a midwife, and I think we're going to do, so I think I'm going to try to do lives like this once a week or whenever. So I think we're going to pick a Friday when her time is off. Dr. Diggs sent me an article about the free birth community and some stuff that's going on, and you all know that I like to talk about maternal health. So I think we're going to, so the subject matters might be all over the place, so I think we're going to talk about the midwifery care model, and I think we're going to talk about like crunchy versus crispy, evidence-based, you know, things like that. So if you guys have, yeah, you know, you guys suggested Lex to me, so I love that too. So if you guys have any other like subject matter experts on certain things, Lex, I believe, is a therapist from my understanding, you know, so I knew that we were coming in with like some really good information, and I like that, so I thought that was great. Dr. Dig, what's up?
Hi, I thought the live was great.
Yay.
I like Lex. I think me and the other mods were fighting a battle with Dan.
Thank you.
Just be quiet, brother. My God. Yeah, I think it was good. I think the only thing would be like maybe if there is a space just for a mod to be like, hey, there's this or blah blah blah, might be helpful.
For what?
But
you mean on the
on the panel, just if there's like an up or something or whatever going on, we can unmute and tell you. Have you reached out to JW yet?
No, and I don't think I will. I don't think, you know, and I don't really want to, I don't think I'm going to talk about that, on the live.
Okay.
Yeah, yesterday was a long week. I was disappointed. I'll say that.
Oh, I didn't know anything about yesterday. I wasn't here yesterday.
Oh, okay. So with that being said, I will talk to you offline about that. Now I know what you're asking. No,
Yeah.
Yeah, no, JW will not be on my platform. I will reach out to that.
Yeah, no, I wasn't here yesterday, so I didn't know anything about it. But we'll talk offline.
Yeah. I see people I don't know. I don't know how to.
We don't have to talk about it.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what to do about that yet. So,
just saying this is not a person that will be on my platform is enough.
Yeah,
that's fine.
Yeah, he's not going to be on my platform. We'll just leave it at that. Yeah. So, yeah. So there are two people in the guest request. I don't know who they are. One person is, or Eric. I think Eric is. So I'm gonna let y'all up. But then I'm probably gonna end here pretty quick. My daughter has been feeling well, and she agreed to give me 2 hours of watching YouTube and stuff to let me do this. So, Rob, did you want to say anything, or you'll have to forgive me if I'm not sure.
I'm sorry, I forgot that I requested up. I'm a friendly, not an op. I did have a
Okay.
question for Lex, but I'm gonna
okay.
drop. Apologies
Okay, no
for that.
worries. If we do this again, I'll. I think that because I want people to ask questions, and so if that's something that you're interested in, good to know. I think maybe we'll try to plan that in the next month or so, or whatever. If he wants to, because I would like to have people ask him questions. I think that would be great. So I appreciate you.
Definitely. I guess I can try to ask it to you, and
Sure.
I don't want to take
Yeah,
away
that's
from
true.
what
No,
Lex
you're
did
fine.
because I think it was awesome. So my question to him was going to be, when he first started his lives, one of my concerns is, if I'm trying to, promote certain things or talk about certain things, if I'm maybe saying it incorrectly or anything like that. So was there any point in this live when Lex was saying something where you kind of in your mind was like, I wouldn't have messaged it that way, or maybe you had a little bit of a different view or opinion? So that's kind of what I wanted to understand. But yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, well, no, there wasn't. And I think the chat probably would have let me know too. I think I probably would have gotten DMs. I had one person say, like, yeah, I think this is a good thing, but like just push back if you don't agree. And I didn't. I think Lex has, I think he doesn't come from an emotional argument. He does come from like almost a more like, I think he's got some clinical experience as well. Like he's very, like he seems to know like legitimately from kind of even like a clinical aspect of sort of like so no, I didn't disagree at it. I didn't think he missed anything, or and if anybody, I think they would have pushed back. The chat definitely would, or would have messaged me. Dr. Dig, what do you think? Do you think?
I didn't see anything that was like saying that. I mean, it might not be like the exact terms of like, but like saying Lex was being domineering over you, or like had more power.
Well,
or
and
anything like that. I was watching.
Yeah, no, and I mean, I wanted him to be the person speaking. I jumped in because you know me, I can't control myself sometimes. So the goal of that was for him to be monopolizing the whole time too. But I had to jump in on that. Which, and again too, and I think it was just also a really good example of how he got a lot more respect from the men than I got. That he started crashing out when I started saying too, like, no, we don't want this. Like, I don't want to be yelled at in public, right? That like that's not true. Like, you can't say,
Yeah, well, and I think.
Oh, sorry. Ash, DM me, because I agree too. I just, I'm not prepared now, but yeah, so Ash, DM me if you want to talk about it, because and honestly, I'm not going to police my comments, so feel free to discuss what you want in the comments for the next few minutes before I. But Rob, I think that's a good question. I think that was one of the things that I had said to him too, is that the reason I wanted to do this is because I wanted to, like for you, right? Like that you're here, instead of coming up here and then being, I'm not saying don't do it, but like hanging out in women's spaces and then coming up and being like, wow, that guy was so crappy, yada, 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 right? Like, what do we do now? Now that we recognize that those are bad men, I don't want to be that man. I can recognize that behavior. I would call that behavior out, right? You've got to do more. It's also scary, right? As a white person, it's also scary and uncomfortable for me to, when I run topics, right, that talk about white people being racist and the privilege that we have, right? It's kind of that same thing, right? That like it can be scary to go into that uncomfortable territory where you might also make a mistake, right? And then my black friends are going to go, actually, that actually isn't good, right? I'm going to listen, I'm going to reflect, and I'm going to move forward. I think the only way you can know is to sort of get out there and do it. I would recommend probably like reading up on feminism even. And I think these would be good questions like for Lex too. So maybe we can talk about another live where he can give advice to people or whatnot. So I appreciate you coming up and asking that question.
No, thank you. And yeah, I've been listening to your lives a lot, and I hop on Lex's a couple of times. So This is absolutely awesome. So I really appreciate that, and y'all have a great rest of your day. Take care.
Take care. Bye. There's somebody named Eric in here. Eric. see if he's hello, how are you? Oh, they're gone. Okay. Okay, so I am gonna wrap it up here. Oh, well, we'll try one more time. Let's see. We'll just say one more time.
Hello.
Hello.
Sorry,
Hi.
can you hear me now?
Yep. Did you
Oh.
Yep, go ahead. Did you want to say something real quick?
Yeah. This is like the first sort of feminist live that I've hopped in that seems the most, what's the word, affable. Because I'm being sincere. I'm not trying to mock. Like I'm definitely identify as a feminist. I have my blind spots. However, I think what makes you guys stand out, and just to give you credit and also hope that I can get some confirmation. There's a lot of like, I don't know, I'm not familiar with misandry, but there are a lot of very caustic, you know, I don't know what the term would be if they're clearly a feminist live, but they're not willing to have a dialogue. It's more about their ego and dominance. I don't know if you would agree.
I'm gonna say it's probably just like a receiving error. Most of the time, that's gonna be, I think just like a receiving error on the man. I don't want to.
What do you mean? What do you mean receiving error? I've never heard that term before.
I think that you're receiving information that's uncomfortable and you're internalizing it as toxic, and that it's.
Well, I haven't told you the info. Well, there's a saying: it's not what you say, it's how you say it. Like I do believe men have privilege. Hold on, don't interrupt. I do believe men have privilege. I agree with.
Okay, so there you go. You're not a feminist. I'm not getting. No.
It's not about feminism.
I'm not getting. I'm not getting into this. I'm not getting into this. I'm gonna end the live here shortly because I'm going to tend to my daughter. But that's the thing. You don't come into a woman's live then, as a man, and say, "Be quiet. Don't interrupt me." To a woman on women's topics, and that right there is how we know that you're not ready to have these conversations and that you can't self-identify as a feminist. Wrong. Okay, great. Well, I guess you're the better feminist as the man that needs to come up and tell us how to do that. So there you go. Point taken. I wish Lex had been here for that. That is kind of what we want to point out. I'm gonna go hang out with my kiddo, and we got snow and ice, and I gotta go to the store because I'm out of some plants. But it's icy out. I know. So
it's very important to enjoy the holiday.
It absolutely is. I don't know if we're doing anything tomorrow because my daughter had a fever yesterday and this morning. I will be careful. I mean, granted that I live in Wisconsin, they prep pretty well. It's not. I can't get it delivered because it's the legal stuff that's like not the real stuff. I live in Wisconsin where it's decriminalized, so I could go get like the real stuff. I could go get the real stuff or the legal not real stuff. The legal not real stuff is cheaper. It's the stuff that like doesn't turn into like THC or whatever until you like heat it. It's like it's like hemp. They pick it before it's like fully.
Delta.
It's not. It's not. It is.
It's not?
Well, no, I guess it is, but it's not like. It's not like the earlier stuff that was like synthetic. Like, it's legit, like, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, hemp-derived is the Delta.
Okay, I guess. I don't know. It's, you know what, everything I touch is probably killing me, so who cares, right? Like, there's a lot more worse things I could be doing. I don't drink alcohol, so, or at least I haven't in quite a while, so that's a positive, but... all right, so I appreciate you all. Make sure you're following me. Again, if you want to quickly send a Venmo, PayPal, or Cash App, I would greatly appreciate that as well. I am just so thankful for y'all, and this was so much fun. I loved it. These are the best kind of conversations. But I'm going to end. I will see you all probably tomorrow morning and Friday morning. Wait, maybe not. I don't know. It's a weird week. We'll see. I'll keep you guys posted in my Discord on what's going on. So, talk to you all later. Love you all. Bye.
Okay, love you. Bye.
Bye.